Chapter 319. Perhaps it's just the same name. Zhou Dongwang shook his head and prepared to leave. However, a voice rang out in his ears once again, causing him to stop moving. Hong Yunfei, I heard that you are from the Yunfeng prefecture where our esteemed Dongwang sect leader made a name for himself when he was young. TSK. You are both from the remote Yunfeng prefecture. Our sect leader is so outstanding, why are you so pathetic? Did you get first place in the subsect examinations because you got in through the back door? There was a hint of mockery in the voice. This Hong Yunfei is also from the Yunfeng prefecture? Zhou Dongwang was stunned for a moment before he appeared on an arena halfway up the Dongwang Peak. With just a glance, he saw the young man who had been injured and was panting heavily on the ground. He stared at the arrogant young man in front of him with an unwilling expression. Fang Luanjie, you and I are about the same age. I've just entered the sect for 3 months, and you've been in the sect for more than 3 years. Is it something to be proud of to be able to defeat me by just a move or two? 3 months, at most 3 months. In 3 months, I, Hong Yunfei, will definitely defeat you. Hong Yunfei was the first young master of the preeminent Hong family of the Yunfeng prefecture, and also the person who had been with Qin Dandan in the past. That year, after his father, the chief of the Hong family, had found out about Qin Dandan's identity, he had sent him to pursue her. Subsequently, he had successfully followed Qin Dandan to the Medicine King sect and become a disciple of Qin Dandan's biological father, the second elder of the Valley of the Medicine Masters. However, after that, Qin Dandan had felt that he was not good enough for her and had chased him out of the Valley of the Medicine Masters. From that moment on, Hong Yunfei's personality had changed. He felt that it was better to rely on himself than on others. Therefore, after returning to the Hong family of the Yunfeng prefecture, he had devoted himself to training, thinking that he would one day avenge himself after Qin Dandan's death. Later, when he heard that Qin Dandan had become a disciple of the Xianin sect, the Golden Essence Elder, he had felt hopeless. He felt that there was no hope for him to avenge himself, and because of this, he had been depressed for a long time. It was only when Zhou Dongwang had risen and killed Qin Dandan's Dharma adept teacher that he had established the Dongwang sect and made the Valley of the Medicine Masters a subsect of the Dongwang sect, that he had recovered from his depression and found a new goal. He would enter the Dongwang subsect before entering the main Dongwang sect. Half a year ago, he had obtained first place in the Dongwang subsect examination and obtained a place to enter the main Dongwang sect. 3 months later, he arrived at the main Dongwang sect and successfully fulfilled his dream. 3 months? You? The young man standing in front of Hong Yunfei had a look of contempt and disdain on his face. He then looked at the surrounding Dongwang sect disciples and said, "Did you hear that? This Hong Yunfei said that he would definitely defeat me in 3 months. Perhaps he still doesn't know that with just a word from me, my father will be able to deduct the spirit stones he receives every month, leaving him without spirit stones to cultivate." As he spoke, the young man sneered. When Hong Yunfei heard the young man's words, his face changed drastically. He naturally knew that Fang Luanjie was not joking. Fang Luanjie's father was one of the few outer sect elders in charge of the internal affairs of the outer sect disciples. With just a word, he could cut off Fang Luanjie's supply of spirit stones for various reasons. This would cause Fang Luanjie to lack spirit stones for cultivation, and thus slow his cultivation progress. He had not expected Fang Luanjie to be so ruthless over a small conflict. "Senior brother Fang." The skinny young man who had walked up to help Hong Yunfei immediately turned pale when he heard Fang Luanjie's word. He immediately let go of Hong Yunfei and knelt down in front of Fang Luanjie. "Senior brother Fang, I'll lick your shoe. I'll lick your shoe right now. This matter has nothing to do with senior brother Yunfei. Don't cut off his spirit stones, please don't." As the skinny young man spoke, he knelt in front of Fang Luanjie and lowered his head, about to lick the shoe on Fang Luanjie's right foot. One could see that there was a faint gray shoe print on the shoe. Xiao Yong! Hong Yunfei shouted. We can be killed, but we cannot be humiliated. If the main sect does not tolerate us, we will at most return to the subsect and never step foot in the main sect again. Senior brother Yunfei. The skinny young man, Xiao Yong, turned to look at Hong Yunfei, and 2 streams of hot tears flowed down his face. Senior brother Yunfei, entering the main sect is your dream, and it is because of your hard work that you have set a good example for me. Otherwise, I would not have been able to enter the main sect. Today's matter was caused by me. Let me settle it. Please. Xiao Yong begged. At this time, more and more people had gathered to watch, and Zhou Dongwang had also learned about what had happened from some of the spectators. This Dongwang sect disciple by the name of Xiao Yong had been distracted while walking and had accidentally stepped on the foot of the Dongwang sect disciple by the name of Fang Luanjie. No matter how he apologized, Fang Luanjie insisted that he lick his shoe clean. At this time, Hong Yunfei had stood up for Xiao Yong, but he had been defeated and injured by Fang Luanjie. Xiao Yong and Hong Yunfei were from the same batch of people who had passed the assessment to enter the main sect, and they knew each other. Besides being an outer sect disciple, Fang Luanjie also had a father who was an outer sect elder. In the outer sect of the Dongwang sect, he could be said to have a strong background. Few outer sect disciples dared to offend him, and those who had offended him in the past did not end up well. Under such circumstances, Fang Luanjie had become arrogant and domineering. Unknowingly, Zhou Dongwang's gaze had gradually turned cold. How could such a thing happen in his Dongwang sect? Enough! Zhou Dongwang walked out slowly, passing through the crowd and walking to the front. After glancing at Fang Luanjie, he looked at Xiao Yong, who was kneeling on the ground. Kneeling down to lick someone's shoe, is that what the Dongwang sect taught you? You came to the main sect from the subsect and you learned to endure humiliation? As soon as Zhou Dongwang spoke, Xiao Yong's face turned red. No, no, no! Who are you? Are you trying to be like Hong Yunfei and be a busybody? Fang Luanjie looked at Zhou Dongwang. When he saw that Zhou Dongwang was younger and more handsome than him, a look of jealousy flashed across his eyes. He pointed at Hong Yunfei and said, Did you see what happened to him? If you don't want to end up like him, then get lost. Fang Luanjie suddenly shouted at Zhou Dongwang, his tone condescending and extremely unfriendly. However, Zhou Dongwang ignored him and looked at Hong Yunfei, who was struggling to stand up. Zhou Dongwang asked calmly, Your name is Hong Yunfei? From the preeminent Hong family of the Yunfeng prefecture capital? How did you know? Hong Yunfei's eyes narrowed in shock. A few years ago, when he had left his family to go to the subsect of the Dongwang sect, he had only said that he was from Yunfeng prefecture. He had never said that he was from the Yunfeng prefecture capital, nor had he told anyone that he was from the preeminent Hong family of the Yunfeng prefecture capital. I also know that you are the first young master of the preeminent Hong family of the Yunfeng prefecture capital. Zhou Dongwang smiled. Who are you? Hong Yunfei then looked at the person in front of him seriously. He was sure that he had never seen him before. Dressed in a robe whiter than snow, he was handsome, with sharp eyebrows and bright eyes. His aura was extraordinary, especially the confidence that he exuded. With just one look, he made Hong Yunfei feel ashamed of himself. Do you still remember Chen Dandan? Zhou Dongwang asked with a smile. Hong Yunfei's expression changed. Chen Dandan. He naturally remembered this name, and he would never forget it for the rest of his life. You know Chen Dandan? Hong Yunfei's heart trembled. Yes. Zhou Dongwang nodded. Not only do I know Chen Dandan, I am also an old friend of hers. I know what happened between you and Chen Dandan. Just as Zhou Dongwang finished speaking, Hong Yunfei's expression changed again. Fang Luanjie, who had been ignored by Zhou Dongwang, shouted angrily, Rascal, how dare you ignore me? You're asking for death. Following Fong Luanjie's shout, his entire body seemed to have transformed into a cheetah as he charged towards Zhou Dongwang. Be careful, Hong Yunfei warned Zhou Dongwang. However, what happened in the next moment caused Hong Yunfei and the surrounding crowd to be dumbfounded. Piak, the crisp sound of a slap rang out. Fong Luanjie, who had just charged in front of the young man in white, did not even have time to react before he was slapped across the face by the young man in white. Then, he spat out a mouthful of blood mixed with broken teeth as he flew to one side and landed pathetically on the ground. This scene was so sudden that it caused everyone to fall silent. Only Fong Luanjie's pitiful cries could be heard. Who is he? How could he send Fong Luanjie flying with just one slap? Fong Luanjie is considered an expert amongst the outer sect disciples. Among the outer sect disciples, I'm afraid no one has such ability. Could he be an inner sect disciple? The crowd of Dongwang sect outer sect disciples had already begun to suspect that the young man in white before them was an inner sect disciple of the Dongwang sect. Even if you are an inner sect disciple, my father will not let you off. Don't even think of running, I'll remember you. Just you wait. A shrill and angry voice rang out. It was Fong Luanjie crawling to his feet pathetically. He looked at Zhou Dongwang viciously, then limped away quickly. It was obvious that he had gone to get help. Zhou Dongwang continued to ignore him, only looking quietly at Hong Yunfei. Under Zhou Dongwang's gaze, Hong Yunfei was completely stunned. He did not expect that the person in front of him not only knew about what had happened between him and Chen Dandan, but was also an inner sect disciple of the Dongwang sect, and had now recognized him. Before this, no one in the Dongwang sect had seen through his identity, let alone known that he had once been involved with Chen Dandan. As a result, he had indirectly become enemies with the high and mighty Dongwang sect leader, Zhou Dongwang, as well as Zhou Dongwang's adoptive mother. Looks like I can no longer stay in the Dongwang sect. Perhaps I won't even be able to leave the Dongwang sect alive. Although Hong Yunfei had been mentally prepared for this from the moment he had first entered the Dongwang subsect, he still felt a sense of despair and regret. However, when he really faced it, he still felt a wave of despair and regret. He regretted that he had not rejected his father's order to pursue Chen Dandan, and had not resisted the temptation of entering the Valley of the Medicine Masters and becoming a disciple there. Chapter 320. Hong Yunfei, who was being stared at by Zhou Dongwang, had lost all hope. The young man in white before him was obviously an inner sect disciple of the Dongwang sect. Otherwise, he would not have been able to send Fong Luanjie flying with a single slap. In front of such a person, and with him staring at him, he could not escape even if he wanted to. Senior brother. Seeing that the young man in white was much younger than him, Hong Yunfei finally mustered up his courage. He had wanted to call him junior brother, but when he remembered that Zhou Dongwang was an inner sect disciple and was much stronger than him, he hurriedly changed the way he addressed him. I was young and insensible in the past. If you really want to report this matter, no matter how the higher-ups deal with it, I, Hong Yunfei, will accept the consequences. However, if senior brother is willing to let me live, I, Hong Yunfei, will be eternally grateful. As he spoke, Hong Yunfei bowed to Zhou Dongwang, but his expression was extremely solemn. He knew that his life or death was in the hands of this person before him. Senior brother Yunfei? The outer sect disciple named Xiao Yong finally recovered from his shock. Seeing Hong Yunfei bow to Zhou Dongwang and say something that he did not understand, he looked at Hong Yunfei with a puzzled expression. Xiao Yong, this has nothing to do with you. You should leave. Hearing Xiao Yong call out to him, Hong Yunfei looked at him and sighed. Senior brother, he is a fellow disciple that I met in the subsect. He has nothing to do with my past. Hong Yunfei, who was afraid that the person before him would cause trouble for Xiao Yong, explained hurriedly. However, Zhou Dongwang did not respond to Hong Yunfei. He continued to look at Hong Yunfei quietly. Now, his thoughts seemed to have drifted back to the past. He had returned to 1,000 years ago. The turning point was Chen Danden's betrayal, and the source of her betrayal was the person before him. If he had returned to 1,000 years ago, he would have killed Hong Yunfei with a single slap if he had the ability to kill him. However, after he had established the Dongwang sect and stood at the top of the Xian planet, he had completely forgotten about Hong Yunfei. Perhaps, from the beginning to the end, he had never taken Hong Yunfei seriously. As for now, this was the first time he saw Hong Yunfei in person. This was a person he should have hated, but it did not cause any ripples in his heart. The surrounding crowd of outer sect disciples was also a little confused. What was this inner sect disciple trying to do? Hong Yunfei seemed to have something on him? But why did he ignore Hong Yunfei? Right now, Hong Yunfei was looking at the white-robed young man with a perturbed expression. There was an indescribable anxiety in his heart, and he wasn't sure if the other party was willing to let him off. Just when the atmosphere was a little quiet, a voice suddenly came from afar. The voice was filled with anger. "Father!" It was him. "He's the one who hurt me." The voice attracted the attention of a group of outer sect disciples. They looked towards the direction of the voice and saw that Fang Luanjie had returned. Now, Fang Luanjie was limping behind a middle-aged man. This middle-aged man was of medium build and wore a long blue robe. His appearance was similar to Fang Luanjie's, but at this moment, his eyes shone with a cold light, and his face seemed to be covered with a layer of frost. "It's Elder Fang Danming." All the outer sect disciples present recognized this person. This inner sect senior brother is going to have a hard time today. Although he is an inner sect disciple, Elder Fang Daming's father is an inner sect elder, the inner sect elder of the inner sect disciples. Yes, if it was an ordinary outer sect elder, he might have to worry about the inner sect disciples' backing and whether there was someone important behind him. But Elder Fang Danming is different. His father is an inner sect elder. This inner sect senior brother is going to be severely punished. Whether it is Elder Fang Danming or his father, they are both famous for being protective. 2 years ago, senior brother Fang Luanjie was injured by an inner sect disciple, and that inner sect disciple was later expelled from the sect by senior brother Fang Luanjie's grandfather, who was an inner sect elder. All the outer sect disciples whispered amongst themselves, and their gazes towards Zhou Dongwang were filled with pity. In their opinion, even if this inner sect disciple was not expelled from the sect, he would not have a good ending. Unless, of course, he had someone even stronger backing than Fang Luanjie's grandfather, who was an inner sect elder. When Fang Luanjie pointed his finger at Zhou Dongwang, Fang Daming's gaze locked onto Zhou Dongwang, and he walked to Zhou Dongwang's side, glaring at Zhou Dongwang. "What's your name? Whose inner sect disciple are you?" Fang Danming asked, trying to find out more about the person in front of him. After all, some inner sect disciples were disciples of the core elders of the Dongwang sect, and their backgrounds were so strong that even he and his father, who was an inner sect elder, could not afford to offend them. Of course, most of the inner sect disciples were either under the tutelage of an inner sect elder or under the tutelage of an outer sect elder. There were even some who didn't have any tutelage of an elder and were just ordinary inner sect disciples without any background. Inner sect disciple? Zhou Dongwang's gaze finally shifted from Hong Yunfei to Fang Danming. "Who said I was an inner sect disciple? You're his father?" Zhou Dongwang's gaze shifted from Fang Danming to Fang Luanjie, who was standing behind him, and he said, "It is the father's fault for not teaching his son properly. As a father, you are responsible for your son's arrogance today. Furthermore, he just said that with a word from him, as an outer sect elder, you would cut off the spirit stones that the other outer sect disciples receive every month?" As he spoke, Zhou Dongwang's gaze on Fang Danming became sharper. Sensing Zhou Donghuang's gaze, Fang Danming's heart skipped a beat. Not an inner sect disciple? Furthermore, he was not afraid of him, an outer sect elder, and looked very confident. Could it be you are a core disciple? Fang Daming's expression froze, and his voice trembled slightly as he asked. In the Donghuang sect, there were a few core disciples above the inner sect disciples, and every core disciple was a disciple of a core elder. Their status in the Donghuang sect was comparable to that of an inner sect elder. And because of their shocking background, even the inner sect elders were not willing to provoke them. Although they were not respectful to them, they were still polite. However, after asking this question, Fang Danming could not help but frown. He suddenly remembered that he had seen all of the 10 or so core disciples in the Donghuang sect, but not this person in front of him. Could it be that he was a newly promoted core disciple? I am not a core disciple. Just as the surrounding outer sect disciples, including Hong Yunfei, were shocked by Zhou Donghuang's identity as a core disciple, Zhou Donghuang once again opened his mouth to deny Fang Danming's words. Not a core disciple? Fang Danming frowned. Not an inner sect disciple, not a core disciple. Could it be that he was only an outer sect disciple? However, there should not be anyone so strong among the outer sect disciples, right? Father, I think he is just a kid trying to sneak into the Donghuang sect. Look at his waist. He does not even have a Donghuang sect identity token. At this time, Fang Luanjie, who was standing behind Fang Danming, looked as if he had discovered a new continent and stared at Zhou Donghuang's waist. You have to know that even the mother of our Donghuang sect leader, Madame Lin Lan, and the sister of our sect leader, Lady Yun Lu, usually have the identity token of a core elder of the Donghuang sect hanging on their waist. And everyone who comes to visit the Donghuang sect, including the guests brought by Madame Lin Lan, will also have a visitor's identity token hanging on their waist when they walk around the Donghuang sect. This is the rule of the Donghuang sect. Even Madame Lin Lan sets an example, not to mention others. In my opinion, he is just an outsider who has trespassed into the Donghuang sect and is just trying to be mysterious. As Fang Luanjie spoke, he stared at Zhou Donghuang fiercely and shouted, according to the rules of the Donghuang sect, trespassing into the Donghuang sect is punishable by death. Hearing Fang Luanjie's words, Fang Danming regained his composure and asked again, Your Highness, which senior member of the Donghuang sect are you a guest of? Fang Luanjie's words had already amused Zhou Donghuang, and now Fang Danming's words made him even more amused. I am not anyone's guest. Then who brought you into the Donghuang sect? The Donghuang Peak is the territory of the Donghuang sect, and outsiders are not allowed to enter. Fang Danming's tone became even more hostile. No one brought me in, Zhou Donghuang said calmly. Zhou Donghuang said calmly, I came by myself. When the crowd of Donghuang sect outer sect disciples saw how calm the young man in white was, they had initially thought that it was just a misunderstanding. But now, after hearing his words, they were all dumbfounded. He was not a guest of the senior members of the Donghuang sect? No one brought him in? He came here on his own? Wouldn't that mean that he had trespassed into the Donghuang sect? Ha ha, at this time, Fang Luanjie could not help but laugh out loud. I knew it, he must have trespassed. Father, now that he has admitted it himself, there is no need to be polite with him. He trespassed into the Donghuang sect, and he deserves to die. Fang Luanjie stared at the young man in white with a crazed look in his eyes, as if he could already see the scene of his father, Fang Danming, killing him. Hand him over to the law enforcement hall, and they will deal with him, Fang Danming said after a moment of silence. He also wanted to kill the young man in front of him with his own hands, to avenge his son. However, seeing the confidence and fearlessness that Zhou Donghuang had shown, he hesitated. If Zhou Donghuang had a powerful background, then wouldn't killing him create a hidden danger? Even if the Donghuang sect was not afraid of Zhou Donghuang's background, it did not mean that he was not afraid. Just as Fong Luanjie was about to say something, Zhou Dongwang looked at Fong Danming and said calmly, "Before sending me to the law enforcement hall, shouldn't you first deal with your son and yourself?" He said in front of everyone that he could cut off an outer sect disciple's spirit stone supply with just one word. The faultless chapter of Dongwang the Great will continue to be updated. There are no advertisements on the website, so please bookmark it. If you like Dongwang the Great, please bookmark it. Dongwang the Great updates the fastest. Dongwang the Great. Chapter 321. Remember in 1 second, 800 mail sign /say, net wonderful pop-up window free reading. I'm already being merciful by not killing you. Fong Danming couldn't help but feel a little annoyed when he saw that the young man in white was still pestering him about this matter. After all, this wasn't something to be proud of. Once things got out of hand, even if his father was backing him up, he would inevitably be punished. "You'd better not pester me endlessly." Fong Danming glared at Zhou Dongwang angrily, and his eyes were cold. If not for the fact that he was afraid that the person in front of him had a background that he could not afford to offend, he would have already killed him. "After you've dealt with your son and yourself, I'll go to the law enforcement hall with you." Zhou Dongwang glanced at Fong Danming and said with a mocking smile, "Before that, I'm not going anywhere. Father, since he's courting death, grant him his wish." Fong Luanjie's gaze turned cold as he spoke in a cold voice. On the other hand, Fong Danming was already a little angry. Now that his son was fanning the flames, his inner calmness started to crumble. "Brat, I'll give you one more chance. Follow me to the law enforcement hall. Otherwise, I will personally execute you on behalf of the Dongwang sect." On behalf of the Dongwang sect. Fong Danming had already thought of a way out. Today, in front of a group of outer sect disciples, he said that he would represent the Dongwang sect to execute the person in front of him. Even if the person in front of him had some background, his background would not dare to target him, or else it would be targeting the Dongwang sect. Moreover, the Dongwang sect was recognized as the #1 sect in the entire Xian planet. He did not think that the background of the young man in front of him would be able to compete with the Dongwang sect. In the end, it could only be left unsettled. On behalf of the Dongwang sect? Zhou Dongwang smiled brightly. "Do you think you are fit to represent the Dongwang sect? In the Dongwang sect, you're just a worm. Worms." As Zhou Dongwang finished speaking, all the outer sect disciples present, including Hong Yunfei, felt a sense of relief. Some of them had suffered at Fong Luanjie's hands before. Even those who had not suffered at Fong Luanjie's hands did not like him and his father, Fong Danming. However, after venting their anger, they looked at Zhou Dongwang again with a tinge of pity. "You're looking to die." Zhou Dongwang's words finally drove Fong Danming crazy, and with a roar, he shook his right arm. In the next moment, he didn't seem to make any movements, but on his right hand, 30 feet of true energy surged out, revealing his cultivation of the Khanate level. Then, with a shake of his body, he approached Zhou Dongwang in an instant. Bang! In the air, 30 feet of inner chi coalesced into a giant palm, crashing down on Zhou Dongwang's head. The air exploded, and it was obvious that the palm wanted to kill Zhou Dongwang with one hit. As an outer sect elder of the Dongwang sect, Fong Danming's strength was far beyond that of his son, Fong Luanjie, who had just entered the Xiantian stage. However, to Zhou Dongwang, it made no difference. Whoosh! Many of the spectating outer sect disciples instinctively closed their eyes, unable to bear to witness the bloody scene of Zhou Dongwang being killed. The giant palm formed from chi landed on Zhou Dongwang's body and strangely dissipated. As for Zhou Dongwang himself, he stood there unscathed. When the inner chi in the giant palm landed on Zhou Dongwang's body, it was like a stone sinking into the ocean, completely disappearing. This strange scene caused the spectators who had not closed their eyes to stare in shock. Fong Danming, who had attacked, stared at the young man in white in disbelief. How is this possible?" As for those outer sect disciples who had their eyes closed, they had only opened their eyes after sensing the strange atmosphere. They were all confused by the scene before them. What's going on? Did Elder Fong Danming stop in time? Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Zhou Dongwang looked at Fong Danming calmly, then reached out with his hand and grabbed at the air. In the next moment, Fong Danming's entire body was lifted into the air. Khanate adepts did not have the ability to use their physical body to fly. This was an ability that only adepts of the primal core stage and above had. This meant that Fong Danming had been restrained in the air by the young man in white. What kind of technique is this? Looking at the scene before him, Hong Yunfei felt his scalp go numb. Even a primal core adept might not be able to do something like this, right? As for Fong Luanjie, who had been standing behind Fong Danming, he was now so frightened that he sat on the ground and stared blankly at the scene before him. How is this possible? Who are you? In the air, Fong Danming, who felt as if his neck was being restrained by something, asked in a trembling voice as he stared at the young man in white in front of him with his hands clasped tightly around his neck. Whoosh! Zhou Donghuang's entire body rose into the air, and in the blink of an eye, he was looking down at Fong Danming, who was struggling to raise his head to look at him. This scene naturally caused everyone present to feel a wave of cold air rising from the soles of their feet to their heads. Flying in the air. This was the technique of an adept of the primal core stage and above. And in the Dongwang sect, only the inner sect elders and above had a level of practice above the primal core stage. Such a young primal core adept? A primal core adept has such a technique? To be able to immobilize someone in the air, even the strongest golden essence adept among the primal core adepts might not have such a technique, right? Who is he? Including Hong Yunfei, the group of outer sect disciples present all looked at the young man in white in shock. He can't be, suddenly, a thought flashed through Hong Yunfei's mind. He remembered that the young man had looked for him earlier and had mentioned Shin Dandan, and he suddenly thought of someone. If it was him, it was normal for him to have such abilities. Just as Hong Yunfei's eyes narrowed, and his face was filled with fear as he looked up at the white figure in the air. The handsome young man, who was dressed in robes whiter than snow, finally spoke in a calm tone, Zhou Donghuang. As the young man in white spoke, Hong Yunfei instantly collapsed to the ground, and everyone else fell into a deathly silence. Fong Luanjie, who had already collapsed to the ground, was so scared that he wet his pants, and the stench filled the air. Sect leader? Fong Danming, who was trapped in the air, narrowed his eyes, and his face was filled with fear and despair. Never in his wildest dreams would he have thought that the person in front of him was the mysterious sect leader of the Donghuang sect, who was revered like a god. Normally, to be able to see the sect leader in person would be something to be happy about, something to brag about. But now, he was only left with regret. Allowing your son to be domineering, abusing your power for personal gain, offending your superiors, and even trying to kill me. I sentence you to death. Do you accept this? Zhou Donghuang looked down at Fong Danming and asked calmly. Hearing this, Fong Danming's face was filled with despair. Then, the person who had been alive and well suddenly exploded in the air, turning into a bloody mist that dissipated with the wind. Below, on the arena, the group of outer sect disciples were not shocked by the scene before them. Instead, they all looked at the white figure in the air with admiration. Sect leader. This was the sect leader of the Donghuang sect. They had finally seen him. Freezing wind. Zhou Donghuang stood in the air with his hands behind his back as he slowly uttered these 3 words. His voice was not loud, but it spread throughout the entire Donghuang peak. In just a few breaths' time, a ghostly black figure had already appeared in front of Zhou Donghuang. Young Master No, sect leader. Freezing wind looked at the young man in white before him. He was so excited that his body started to tremble. He had known that his young master had returned a few days ago, but when he found out that he was recovering his inner yuan after helping He Jin detoxify, he had not come to disturb him. These few days, he had been waiting for his young master to summon him. Now, his young master had finally summoned him. After almost 5 years, Freezing Wind's appearance had not changed much, but the most significant change was in his aura. Freezing Wind had replaced Zhou Dongwang as the deputy sect leader of the Dongwang sect, and in these few years, he had gradually developed the aura of a leader. However, even though his aura had changed, his loyalty to the young man before him had not changed at all. It was all because of the young man before him that he had been able to reach this stage in his life. If not for the young man before him, he might still be a lowly bandit in a remote place. Young master! Young master! After Freezing Wind, Zhou Han and Zhou Feng also arrived. The youths of the past had now grown up and become much more mature. However, when they saw Zhou Dongwang and Empress Zhou, their excitement was no less than Freezing Wind's. Call him sect leader. As Freezing Wind corrected them, the two of them hurriedly addressed Zhou Dongwang as sect leader, and the excitement on their faces did not fade for a long time. Not bad, you did not slack off. With a sweep of his divine will, Zhou Dongwang detected the cultivation levels of Freezing Wind, Zhou Han and Zhou Feng, and nodded in satisfaction. As for Freezing Wind and the other two, when they heard Zhou Dongwang's praise, it was as if they had eaten honey, and they smiled like children. When the group of outer sect disciples below saw this, it was as if they had seen a ghost. Their Dongwang sect deputy sect leader Lung and the two core elders, Zhou Han and Zhou Feng, were all famous for being cold people, but now they were smiling like this? Was this real? Many people wondered if they were dreaming. At the same time, Zhou Dongwang's expression turned serious as he said in a low voice, "The outer sect elder, Fang Danming, allowed his son to be arrogant and tried to kill me. He has already been executed." Fang Danming's son, the outer sect disciple, Fang Luanjie, used his status to bully his fellow disciples, offended his superiors, and spoke rudely to me. His cultivation should be destroyed, and he will be expelled from the sect. As he said this, Zhou Dongwang looked calmly at Fang Luanjie, who was lying on the ground and peeing in his pants. As for the latter, when he heard Zhou Dongwang's punishment, he had already fainted from fright. He seems to have a grandfather who is an inner sect elder of our Dongwang sect? Zhou Dongwang asked Freezing Wind. Yes. Chapter 322. Investigate this person thoroughly, Zhou Dongwang said coldly. If he is clean, then there is no need to touch him. If he is not, then destroy his training and kick him out of the Dongwang sect. Although he had the power to decide the life and death of anyone in the Dongwang sect with a single word, Zhou Dongwang had no intention of doing so. If a sect wanted to be strong and united, then it had to be as fair as possible. Even as the sect leader, he could not abuse his power for personal gain. Only then would he be able to convince the masses. Yes. Freezing Wind respectfully accepted the order. At the same time, he immediately ordered Zhou Han and Zhou Feng to investigate Fang Kunli thoroughly. On the arena below, when the outer sect disciples heard Zhou Dongwang's words, they knew that the inner sect elder, Fang Kunli, was finished. They all knew that Fang Kunli could not be clean. At the same time, they looked at Zhou Dongwang with fiery eyes. Even now, they still could not believe it. This young man who had been so close to them was actually the elusive sect leader of the Dongwang sect, the most powerful man of the Ziyun planet. No wonder I felt that he looked familiar. Now that I think about it, he looks exactly like the statue I had erected in the central square of the Dongwang Empire. It's just that the statue did not have the aura of a real person, so I could not react in time. An outer sect disciple smiled bitterly. Now that you mention it, I also remember, that statue, although it looked like the sect leader, it did not have the aura of the real sect leader. Aura is not something that can be represented by a statue. Ever since the Dongwang sect was established a few years ago, few people have seen the sect leader, Some even said that he had left the Ziyun planet. Who would have thought that after so many years, he would appear here? Now, as they stared at the white figure hovering in the air, the group of outer sect disciples finally understood that Fang Jingji was a saint. Why was this person not wearing an identity token? Why did this person say that he was not brought to the Dongwang sect by anyone? Why did this person say that he was not an inner or core disciple of the Dongwang sect? It turned out that he was the elusive sect leader of the Dongwang sect, the faith of the Dongwang Empire. Although the sect leader of the Dongwang sect had not appeared for many years, the legend that he had created was something that no one had been able to break. When he was young, he had risen from a small, remote town. In less than 10 years, he stood at the peak of the Ziyun planet and founded the Dongwang sect. He was also recognized as the most powerful person in the Ziyun planet. Zhou Dongwang, Hong Yunfei sat on the ground, paralyzed. Looking at the white figure in the sky, he felt his body stiffen and turn cold. Would he be calculative with him? Hong Yunfei's heart was filled with anxiety. Only when Zhou Dongwang floated away under the watchful eyes of the crowd and disappeared from Hong Yunfei's sight did Hong Yunfei heave a sigh of relief. That's true. With his status and position, it would be beneath him to be calculative with me. Moreover, although he recognized me just now, he didn't seem to have any hostility towards me. Perhaps he didn't intend to bicker with me from the start. Thinking of this, Hong Yunfei heaved a long sigh of relief. At the same time, he could not help but laugh bitterly. To think that a few years ago, before I decided to enter the Dongwang subsect, I wanted to thank him for killing Qin Dandan and indirectly avenging me. And now I don't even have the courage to see him again, much less thank him. Taking a deep breath, Hong Yunfei relaxed his slightly stiff body and trembled as he tried to stand up. Senior brother Yunfei. Just then, Xiao Yong, who had looked in the direction that Zhou Dongwang had left, finally regained his senses and immediately went to Hong Yunfei's side to help him up. As he did so, he could not help but ask curiously, "Senior brother Yunfei, the sect leader seems to know you? You are also from the Yunfeng prefecture where the sect leader was young. Could it be that the two of you have crossed paths in the past?" Xiao Yong was obviously very curious about this. Many of the surrounding outer sect disciples also looked at Hong Yunfei in surprise. Facing Xiao Yong's question, Hong Yunfei could only laugh bitterly. Although it was not really a secret, however, he still did not dare to speak carelessly. The sect leader of the Dongwang sect obviously would not hold it against him because of what had happened in the past, but that might not be the case for others. Some people, in order to curry favor with the sect leader, would very likely act first and report later and directly attack him. He did not want to be targeted by others. This time, Zhou Dongwang returned to the Ziyun planet. It had been almost 5 years since he had last left the planet. This amount of time was not considered long in the eyes of any martial adept in the universe who had succeeded in their cultivation. However, in the context of the Ziyun planet, it was considered not a short period of time. Almost 5 years had passed, and the Ziyun planet was peaceful. Of course, in this peace, the Dongwang sect had also grown from its original foundation of the Valley of the Medicine Masters to a point where it could stand shoulder to shoulder with the other top sects of the Ziyun planet, or even surpass them. Before Zhou Dongwang left, the former head of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, Su Mo, became the deputy sect leader of the Dongwang sect and took over the management of the Dongwang sect on Zhou Dongwang's behalf. After that, Su Mo had more or less taken care of the Dongwang sect. Seeing that the Dongwang sect was in good order and was growing stronger by the day, after bidding farewell to Zhou Dongwang's mother, Lin Lan, he handed the Dongwang sect over to Freezing Wind. As for himself, he shut himself away to train and break through to the Dharma stage because he had the heavy responsibility of protecting the Dongwang sect. In the past, the most powerful person in the Dongwang sect was Su Mo. They did not spread the news of Zhou Dongwang's departure from the Ziyun planet, nor did they dare to spread it. Who knew what the other top sects of the Xian planet would think of the Dongwang sect without Zhou Dongwang as their leader? After all, the wealth that the Dongwang sect possessed was a great temptation to the other sections. Although there was a formation that Zhou Dongwang had left behind on the Dongwang Peak where the Dongwang sect was based, it could only be used for defense, and when the spirit stones supporting the formation were used up, the formation would be useless. The Dongwang sect needed a strong practitioner to hold the fort. Under such circumstances, Su Mo felt a great deal of pressure. After handing the Dongwang sect over to freezing wind, he shut himself away to train and rarely appeared in public. Even those who entered the Dongwang sect later on did not know of the existence of Su Mo, the former deputy sect leader. It was as if Su Mo had disappeared without a trace. How hard-working, just one more step. On the side of the cliff of the Dongwang Peak, there was a cave that had been opened by someone, and this was where Su Mo shut himself away to train. Now, a white figure appeared silently in the cave, looking calmly at the middle-aged man who was sitting cross-legged on a stone platform. The white figure was Zhou Dongwang. Zhou Dongwang's divine will landed on Su Mo, and it was not difficult to find that Su Mo's level of practice was stuck at the last bottleneck of the ultimate primal core stage. Furthermore, it took him a long time to break through. Whoosh! With a wave of his hand, Zhou Dongwang retrieved an elixir from the space ring on his finger. With a flick of his fingers, the elixir flew out and was brought into Su Mo's mouth, entering his body. Just as Su Mo sensed it, and his body trembled slightly, his eyelids about to open, Zhou Dongwang spoke. Focus completely on training and continue to use the thousand-star sword technique. I will help you. Master? Just by hearing the voice, Su Mo could tell who it belonged to. It was his master, who had left the Xian planet for almost 5 years. Master had returned. Su Mo's heart was filled with excitement. However, when he discovered that an external force had entered his body and was driving the true essence in his body, he quivered and hurriedly calmed himself down. Then, he continued to use the thousand-star sword technique to train. When the technique in his body had completed a full cycle, Su Mo once again began to break through the last bottleneck of the ultimate primal core stage. In the past, he had tried to break through this bottleneck hundreds and thousands of times, but he had not been able to do so. In fact, he had been traumatized by this. But now, with the help of his master, he was no longer traumatized, and his entire body was filled with confidence. Boom! In the instant that his inner yuan broke through the bottleneck, even though Su Mo had been mentally prepared, he could not help but be overjoyed. He had broken through. He, Su Mo, had broken through to the Dharma stage. Thank you, Master. Ignoring the inner yuan in his body, Su Mo immediately opened his eyes, and was about to stand up and kneel down to Zhou Dongwang to thank him. However, one of Zhou Dongwang's hands was like a towering mountain, pressing down on his shoulders and pushing him back. Continue to focus on your training. The elixir that I just gave you still has a lot of power left. It should be enough to help you completely solidify your early Dharma stage training. I will help you as well. In the next 2 days, Zhou Dongwang stayed by Su Mo's side, helping him to solidify his newly attained early Dharma stage. After 2 days, Su Mo's early Dharma stage was completely solidified. When he opened his eyes again, his face was full of excitement. Thank you, Master. Su Mo knelt on the ground and thanked the white silhouette standing at the entrance of the cave with his hands behind his back. His voice was full of respect. Zhou Dongwang stood at the entrance of the cave on the side of the cliff. As far as he could only see the white clouds outside. It's been hard on you these few years. Zhou Dongwang turned to look at Su Mo. With a wave of his hand, an invisible force swept out and lifted Su Mo up. Not at all, not at all. Su Mo was shocked when he felt this invisible force that rendered him unable to resist at all. He had originally thought that after breaking through to the Dharma stage, even if he was still not as strong as his master, he would at least be closer to his master. But now, he realized that he had been overthinking. In less than 5 years, when he faced his master again, he felt like a dwarf facing a towering mountain. This was a feeling that he had never felt before. Master, your current stage of training? Suemo took a deep breath and could not help but ask. He really wanted to know whether it was his imagination or reality. The ultimate primordial soul stage. Zhou Donghuang's tone was extremely calm. Chapter 323. Before Zhou Donghuang had spoken, Suemo had already begun to wonder if his master had already entered the primordial soul stage. Otherwise, why would he give off such a feeling? He felt that if his master had already entered the early primordial soul stage, it would already be an exaggeration. After all, when his master had left the Ziyun planet, he had not even entered the Dharma stage. In less than 5 years, to advance from the ultimate primordial core stage to the early primordial soul stage was already very impressive to him. He did not even dare to think about what would happen after that. And now, ultimate primordial soul stage? When Zhou Donghuang's calm voice reached Sumo's ears, Sumo's expression froze, as if he was completely stunned. Of course, although he was stunned, Sumo's brain was still working. Ultimate primordial soul stage? From the ultimate primordial core stage to the ultimate primordial soul stage, other than the 4 stages of Dharma, it seemed like he had also surpassed the 3 stages of primordial soul? In less than 5 years. Master, how did he do it? At this moment, Suemo could clearly hear his own heartbeat thumping. It was unprecedentedly powerful. Just as Suemo finally regained his composure, Zhou Donghuang's calm voice rang out again. Zhou Donghuang's calm voice rang out once again. Although I am only at the ultimate primordial soul stage now, killing an early divine transformation adept is not a problem for me. Suemo fell into a daze again. His heart, which had just calmed down, was beating even harder now. When Suemo regained his composure again, he realized that his master had already left, and he did not continue to stay in the cave. After all, he had secluded himself here to break through to the Dharma stage. Now that he had successfully broken through, there was naturally no need to stay here any longer. Xiao Lu, where are Big Gold and Little Gold? After leaving Sumo's retreat, Zhou Donghuang went to the residence of his mother Lin Lan and his sister Yun Lu. He sat down at the stone table in the courtyard and held Yun Lu in his arms. He smiled and said, "This time, besides Lu Qinghu who is far away in the subsect, I haven't seen them." Big Gold and Little Gold were the 2 golden-crowned eagles that Zhou Donghuang had tamed years ago. When he had left the Ziyun planet, they had successfully become primordial core demons. Big brother, those 2 fellows always go out when they have nothing to do. They usually go out for 10 days to half a month. But this time, they seem to have gone out for a long time. Yun Lu frowned and said, "In the past, they never went out for more than a month. But this time, they haven't returned for almost 2 months. It seems like they've gone crazy playing outside." They left a few days before big sister Mengxi, big brother Dazhuang, and uncle He-jin arrived. Hearing Yun Lu's words, Zhou Donghuang nodded. "What level of practice are they at now?" "I just broke through to the ultimate primal core stage a few months ago," Yun Lu said. "He's already at the ultimate primal core stage?" Zhou Donghuang nodded with satisfaction and smiled. "Looks like none of you are slacking off. With their level of cultivation, if the 2 of them were together, they would be able to do whatever they wanted in the entire Ziyun planet. Furthermore, those sects with golden essence adepts all know their identities. Even if they were to see them, they would not dare to make a move on them." Yun Lu giggled and said, "The 2 of them rely on this point to often go to those sects to eat and drink. Furthermore, when they leave, they often take away quite a number of spirit stones from those sections. This is just like what they do." Zhou Donghuang also laughed. In the current generation of the Xian planet, there were a total of 5 top sects that stood at the peak of the planet. They were the Dongguang sect, the Shenguang sect, the Qianqiu sect, the Tianwu sect, and the Xuesha sect. Before the Dongguang sect appeared, there were also 5 top sects on the planet of Xian. The Xianin sect had been destroyed by Zhou Dongguang. As one of the top 5 top sects on the planet of Xian, the Xuesha sect had a long history. However, the Xuesha sect had lost a late primal core adept at the Xian Grand Banquet 5 years ago, and it was the Xuesha sect leader at that. After that incident, the Xuesha sect's position among the top 5 top sects on the planet of Xian fell to the bottom. Usually, when the disciples of the Xuesha sect went out, they would feel that they were weaker than the disciples of the other 4 top sections. This was because the adepts in their sect were not as strong as the adepts in the other sections. The base of the Xuesha sect was located in a blood-red grassland. The grass on the grassland was all blood-red, and from afar, it looked as if it had been dyed with blood. This place was also known as the Blood Leaf Plains, and was the territory of the Xuesha sect. Anyone who trespassed almost never had a good ending. At this moment, in the backyard of a vast mansion in the base of the Xuesha sect, there was a skinny old man dressed in gray, who looked like a bag of bones, sitting cross-legged in the air. His entire body was covered in a blood-red glow. Threads of blood-red light extended from the 2 corpses lying on the ground in the backyard and entered his body. One could see that the threads of blood were becoming weaker and weaker. When the last thread of blood entered the old man's body, the old man's aura trembled, and then a strong aura swept out. At the same time, a small portion of the old man's snow-white hair turned black. In addition, the old man's skinny body expanded like an inflated balloon. Finally, not only did he return to his normal body shape, but he even seemed to be slightly muscular. The old man's old, skinny face also changed dramatically. Not only did he become fleshy, but he also looked like a middle-aged man. Who would have thought that not only would I not die this time, but I would also benefit from this misfortune, allowing me to break through to the primordial soul stage. The old man grinned, and then looked at the 2 corpses on the ground. His eyes lit up. These 2 ultimate primordial core golden-crowned eagles are really nourishing. A few months ago, when he was trying to break through to the primordial soul stage, he had been chased by his enemies and escaped into space. He had been running around aimlessly and finally accidentally landed on this planet. He had thought that he would definitely die, but unexpectedly, not only did he not die, he successfully broke through to the primordial soul stage, and his lifespan increased by another 400 years. The old man's body, which had been like a candle in the wind, was once again filled with vitality, and he was back to his prime. 2 little golden-crowned eagles actually managed to reach the ultimate primordial core stage on this planet where spirit energy is thin and martial arts are backward. What a miracle! Looks like the leader of the Dongguang sect, Zhou Dongguang, did indeed have a fortuitous encounter. Before I leave this backward planet, I will make a trip to the Dongguang sect and steal Zhou Dongguang's good fortune. The old man murmured to himself, and as he reached the end of his sentence, his eyes shone with greed. At this moment, whoosh, 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 3 figures appeared out of thin air from afar, and in the blink of an eye, they were already in the courtyard. They all bowed respectfully to the old man. Congratulations, Senior, for successfully breaking through to the primordial soul stage. These people were the new Xuesha sect leader, who had been chosen after Zhou Dongguang had killed the previous Xuesha sect leader a few years ago, as well as the 2 elders of the Xuesha sect. 1 late primordial core stage, and 2 ultimate primordial core stage. 3 months ago, the gray-robed old man before them had appeared on the Blood Leaf Plains, where the Xuesha sect was based. At that time, they could have killed the old man. However, the old man had said that he was an ultimate Dharma adept, and if they saved him, He was willing to teach them a secret technique that allowed them to absorb the blood essence of beasts to train. At the same time, after he recovered from his injuries, he could help them unify this planet, which had thin spirit energy and backward martial arts. They were tempted. Therefore, after some discussion, not only did they take the old man in, they even provided him with a large number of beasts so that he could absorb the blood essence of these beasts to recover from his injuries. A month ago, the old man's level of practice had been restored. At this time, the two golden-crowned eagles of the Dongwang sect once again came to the Shueisha sect. In the past, although they were angry with the two golden-crowned eagles for doing as they pleased in the Shueisha sect, they could not do anything about it. They could not kill the eagles, and they did not dare to hurt them. They could only allow the eagles to do as they pleased in the Shueisha sect. However, this time they did not intend to let the two golden-crowned eagles go, and they asked the old man to kill the eagles. The old man's level of practice had been close to a breakthrough, and with the help of the blood essence of the two ultimate primordial core golden-crowned eagles, he had finally broken through successfully today. A primordial soul adept, which had never appeared in the history of the Ziyun planet, had been born in the Shueisha sect. I will not go back on my word about what I have promised you. The old man looked at the three men from the Shueisha sect indifferently and said lightly, "Tomorrow, you will bring me to the other three sects besides the Dongwang sect. I will help you kill all the adepts of the late primordial core stage and above in those three sections. Finally, I will go to the Dongwang sect and kill all the adepts of the late primordial core stage and above, as well as the Dongwang sect leader, Zhou Dongwang. However, no matter what Zhou Dongwang's fortuitous encounter is, I will not leave it for you." Just as the old man finished speaking, the eyes of the three men from the Shueisha sect lit up, and they expressed their stance in unison. "Senior, you helping us kill the adepts of the late primordial core stage and above of the four major sects is already a great blessing to us. How could we dare to covet anything else? Only someone as important as you, Senior, is worthy of Zhou Dongwang's fortuitous encounter." At the same time, the three of them did not forget to remind the old man that Zhou Dongwang was not simple. "Senior, 5 years ago, Zhou Dongwang was able to kill early Dharma adepts with his late primal core cultivation. Based on his level of training in the past, he must have entered the Dharma stage by now. As for which level of training he has reached, we can't be sure. So, Senior, it's better for you to be careful." The old man did not comment on the trio's reminder. When the early Dharma adept you mentioned died, he had just broken through to the Dharma stage and had not had the time to train his Dharma power. Furthermore, he did not have a Dharma spirit weapon with him. As for me, although I have just broken through to the primordial soul realm, I have a primordial soul spiritual weapon to rely on. Moreover, it's a mid-grade primordial soul spiritual weapon. The old man's face was full of pride and confidence. "You can all rest assured that Zhou Dongwang will not be able to do anything to me. The faultless chapters of East Royal Great Emperor will continue to be updated. There will be no advertisements on the website, so please collect and share. If you like East Royal Emperor, please collect. East Royal Emperor updates the fastest. East Royal Emperor." Chapter 324. In the blink of an eye, Zhou Dongwang had returned to the Ziyun planet. It had been more than a month since he had returned to the Dongwang sect. Over the past month or so, he had also taken out the harvests he had obtained from some planets in various star fields, filtered out the things that could be used by the people around him, and distributed them one by one. There were spirit stones, spirit fruits, and core drugs. In this month, he had not left the Dongwang sect at all. Besides practicing, he spent most of his time with his mother and sister, Yun Lu. Big brother, another month has passed, and Big Gold and Little Gold have not returned yet. Are they all right? Yun Lu asked Zhou Dongwang worriedly in the courtyard. It was as if she needed Zhou Dongwang to comfort her. "Don't worry." Zhou Dongwang smiled and said, You said it yourself, their level of practice has already reached the ultimate primal core stage, 2 golden essence demons. Even if you look at the other 4 top sects of Zune, none of them would be able to keep them here. Even if a Dharma adept were to appear in any of the sects, they would not dare to take the risk of attacking Big Gold and Little Gold. 5 years ago, I killed a Dharma adept. They have not forgotten that. They have not returned yet. Something must have happened, or perhaps they encountered something fun and had too much fun. When they return, Big Brother will help me teach them a lesson so that they will not dare to play as much as they did this time. As he spoke, Zhou Donghuang's expression became serious. Big Brother, you are not allowed to bully them. Yun Lu sat in front of the stone table with her hands on her hip. She said seriously to Zhou Donghuang, you are now a primordial soul adept. What if you do not control your strength and break them? Haha. Xiao Lu, they are more resilient than you think. Zhou Donghuang laughed. Furthermore, the higher the level of practice, the better the control of one's own strength. So you don't have to worry about me not controlling my strength well. That still won't do. Yun Lu shook her head angrily. These few years when Big Brother was gone, they were the ones who played with me. They are my good friends, Big Brother, you cannot bully them. All right, I won't bully them, I won't bully them. Zhou Donghuang reached out and pinched Yun Lu's angry face. He smiled helplessly. Big Brother will listen to me, all right? Xiaolu knows that Big Brother is the best. Yun Lu threw herself into Zhou Donghuang's arms and hugged his arm. Her delicate face was full of smiles. Young master, are you there? Suddenly, a voice sounded from outside the courtyard, and there was a hint of urgency in the tone. Come in. Zhou Donghuang could tell that it was Freezing Wind's voice, and he saw Freezing Wind walk in with a serious expression. Young master. In public, Freezing Wind addressed Zhou Donghuang as sect leader, but in private, he still addressed Zhou Donghuang as young master. Just now, a severely injured elder of the Divine Light sect rushed to the Donghuang sect and said that he wanted to see you. After he saw me, he told me something and asked me to tell you, and then he died. I can see that he rushed over with one last breath. If not for my obsession, I would have died long ago. A few years ago, only those close to Zhou Donghuang knew that he had left the Ziyun planet. Outsiders did not know at all. Of course, Zhou Donghuang had not shown himself in the past few years, and some people suspected that he had left the Ziyun planet. Everyone knew that the spirit energy on the Ziyun planet was thin, and there were many planets with more spirit energy than the Ziyun planet. In the eyes of those who suspected, Zhou Donghuang was such a genius that he would not be willing to waste his time on the Ziyun planet. Therefore, they felt that the possibility of Zhou Donghuang leaving the Ziyun planet was very high. What is it? Zhou Donghuang's expression became slightly serious. An elder of the Divine Light sect had rushed to the Donghuang sect to see him despite his injuries? It was hard to imagine what could have caused an elder of the Divine Light sect to act like this. Zhou Donghuang had a very good impression of the Divine Light sect. After all, even the Donghuang sect had been given up by the Divine Light sect in the past. He said that the Divine Light sect was destroyed. It was done by the Shueisha sect. As Freezing Wind spoke, he seemed to think of something, and his expression became even more serious. The Shueisha sect? Zhou Donghuang frowned slightly. Didn't you say that after I killed their leader, the Shueisha sect became the weakest of the 5 great sects on the Ziyun planet? The Shueisha sect had the ability to destroy the Divine Light sect? Could it be that there is some hidden story behind all this? In Zhou Donghuang's view, under normal circumstances, even if the Shueisha sect leader had not died at his hands a few years ago, the Shueisha sect would not have had the ability to destroy the Divine Light sect. Not to mention now. If all this was true, there must be something that he did not know. Freezing Wind's expression was solemn, and his eyes showed fear as he nodded his head. His originally anxious tone became even more urgent. The elder of the Divine Light sect said that the people of the Shueisha sect who went to the Divine Light sect were not led by the current leader of the Shueisha sect and the two Golden Essence elders. Whether it was the Shueisha sect leader or the two Golden Essence elders, they all followed respectfully behind a middle-aged man with gray hair and a gray robe. The middle-aged man in the gray robe attacked and killed the Divine Light sect leader with a flip of his palm. Then, the Golden Essence elders of the Divine Light sect were also killed by that man. At this point, Freezing Wind looked at Zhou Donghuang. Young master, even an early Dharma adept might not be able to do this, right? Zhou Donghuang frowned slightly. There is actually an adept of this level in the Shueisha sect? The elder from the Divine Light sect said that the middle-aged man in the gray robe did not seem to be from the Shueisha sect. The Shueisha sect leader and the two Golden Essence elders of the Shueisha sect addressed him as senior. If he was from the Shueisha sect, he would definitely be their elder. They should not address him as such, Freezing Wind said. Not from the Shueisha sect? Zhou Donghuang raised his eyebrows. It seems that he might be an adept from outside of the Ziyun planet. Brother. At this point, Yun Lu, who was in Zhou Donghuang's arms, spoke up. Her tone was anxious. Big Gold and Little Gold have not returned. Could it have something to do with this adept from outside of the Ziyun planet? Before Big Gold and Little Gold left the last time, they told me that this time, they planned to go to the Shueisha sect. As Yun Lu finished speaking, her delicate face was filled with worry. Hearing Yun Lu's words, Zhou Donghuang's expression changed as well. Young master, the elder of the Divine Light sect also said that the Shueisha sect's target is not just the Divine Light sect. The Shueisha sect wants to unify the entire Ziyun planet with the help of that person. Freezing Wind's expression became more and more serious. Young master, could that person be more powerful than you and Senior Heejin? Probably not. Zhou Donghuang shook his head. Not to mention that in this part of the galaxy where the planet of Ziyun is located, adepts above the primordial soul stage are rare. Even in the surrounding galaxies, there are at most a few primordial soul adepts. It is rare to find adepts above the divine transformation stage. That person should be a stronger Dharma adept or a primordial soul adept. Based on the situation in the surrounding galaxies of the planet of Ziyun, Zhou Donghuang had his own conjectures. You should know where the Shueisha sect is located, right? Zhou Donghuang asked Freezing Wind as he carried Yun Lu and stood up. I know. Freezing Wind nodded. Follow me to see the valley head. Immediately after, Zhou Donghuang brought Freezing Wind to look for Heejin. On the way there, he did not forget to comfort the restless Yun Lu in his arms. Xiao Lu, don't worry. Big Gold and Little Gold will definitely be fine. Of course, he only comforted her verbally. His heart sank as he had a bad feeling about this. If there were no adepts above the Dharma stage appearing on the planet of Ziyun, he would not be worried even if Big Gold and Little Gold's trip this time was a little unusual. But now that he knew that an outsider had arrived on the planet of Ziyun who had the ability to kill a Golden Essence adept with a single blow, he could not help but worry. Donghuang, why are you in such a hurry to look for me? Seeing Zhou Donghuang rush over, Heejin's expression turned serious. Could it be that the Qi dynasty has found their way here? Nope. Zhou Donghuang's originally anxious emotions eased after hearing Heejin's words. I have only told Third Senior Sister about the location of the planet of Ziyun, and I have not told anyone else. When I returned, it was impossible for anyone to follow me. If someone weaker than me had followed me, I would definitely have noticed. If they were stronger than me, there would be no need for them to follow me. They would have already killed me. Zhou Donghuang said. Then why are you here? Hearing this, Heejin felt that he was making a big fuss out of nothing. If the Qi dynasty had really known that they were here, they would not have waited so long to look for them. Valley Head, there seems to be an outsider who is above the Dharma stage in the Ziyun planet, and he has colluded with a sect called the Shueisha sect in the Ziyun planet. I want freezing wind to bring you to the Shueisha sect to find out the truth. As for me, I intend to stay behind to guard the Dongwang sect. Based on the information we have, that person could come to the Dongwang sect at any time. Zhou Dongwang said. Alright, I will make a trip. He Jin nodded. Naturally, he also knew that on this planet where martial arts were so backward, a single Dharma adept, excluding the few of them, was more than enough to rule over this planet. With the speed of a divine transformation adept, He Jin returned with freezing wind in less than 2 hours. However, whether it was He Jin or freezing wind, both of them did not look too happy. What is it? Zhou Dongwang's heart skipped a beat, and he had a bad feeling about this. Freezing wind glanced at Yun Lu, who was in Zhou Dongwang's arms, but before he could avert his gaze, Yun Lu noticed something amiss. Uncle Cold Wind, did something happen to Big Gold and Little Gold? Chapter 325. Remember in 1 second 800 mail sign /say, net there was no pop-up window for free reading. Faced with Yun Lu's anxious question, Freezing Wind's expression became more and more ugly. At the same time, he subconsciously looked at Zhou Dongwang, as if he wanted to say something. Speak. Zhou Dongwang asked in a low voice. Young master. Freezing Wind took a deep breath. When I went to the Shueisha sect with Senior He Jin, we discovered that all the adepts of the primal core stage and above had left the sect. Also, at this point, Freezing Wind paused for a moment before continuing. At the back of one of the Blood Fiend sect's residences, we found the rotting corpses of 2 birds. Based on their wings and size, they seemed to be Big Gold and Little Gold. Almost as soon as Freezing Wind finished speaking, Yun Lu burst into tears. Then, her cries stopped abruptly, and she fell into Zhou Dongwang's arms. After confirming that his sister had only fainted, Zhou Dongwang heaved a sigh of relief, but his eyes began to burn with anger. Because of this, I specially captured a few disciples of the Shueisha sect nearby and questioned them to confirm their identities. Because of this, Big Gold and Little Gold had been to the Shueisha sect before and scared many of the Shueisha sect disciples. Most of the disciples knew them. Some time ago, a strong practitioner appeared in the Shueisha sect. Even the Shueisha sect leader and the Golden Essence elders of the Shueisha sect were respectful to him. Big Gold and Little Gold once again came to the Shueisha sect. The Shueisha sect leader invited that strong practitioner to kill them. He only used 2 moves to kill Big Gold and Little Gold. After saying all this in one breath, Freezing Wind took a deep breath and looked at Zhou Dongwang worriedly. Young master, my condolences. Freezing Wind knew Zhou Dongwang's feelings for Big Gold and Little Gold. It was definitely no less than Yun Lu's feelings for Big Gold and Little Gold. Zhou Dongwang looked at He Jin, and when Zhou Dongwang looked over, He Jin also said, Look at the wounds on their bodies, it was the work of an ultimate Dharma adept. After they died, their blood essence was sucked out. This means that they were adepts who practiced evil technique. He Jin revealed his findings. Ultimate Dharma stage? A cold light flashed in Zhou Dongwang's eyes. A mere ultimate Dharma adept dared to be so presumptuous on the Ziyun planet, and he even killed Big Gold and Little Gold? Big Gold, Little Gold, the scene of him meeting the 2 golden-crowned eagles for the first time surfaced in his mind. Then, he thought of all the times he had spent with the 2 eagles, and the rage in his eyes grew even more intense. It was like a prairie fire that could not be controlled. Someone's coming. Just as Zhou Dongwang was reminiscing about the 2 golden-crowned eagles, He Jin seemed to notice something and suddenly looked into the distance. Hearing this, Zhou Dongwang also looked over. Immediately, his divine will swept out, passing through the clouds and discovering a group of people approaching. Almost at the same time that Zhou Dongwang discovered them, a voice came from that direction. Zhou Dongwang, sect leader of the Dongwang sect. I heard that you are the most powerful man in the Ziyun planet. I have come to learn from you. Almost at the same time that the voice came, the group of people had already passed through the clouds and arrived at the side of the Dongwang Peak, led by a middle-aged man dressed in a long gray robe. It's the new leader of the Xuesha sect, and the two golden essence elders of the Xuesha sect. Even from a distance, Freezing Wind immediately recognized the three people behind the middle-aged man in the gray robe. Young Master, the person in the lead should be the one who killed Big Gold and Little Gold. Freezing Wind once again looked behind the person in the lead, his eyes filled with murderous intent. Whoosh! Just as Freezing Wind finished speaking, Zhou Dongwang had already carried the unconscious Yun Lu into the air. In the blink of an eye, he had already arrived in front of the group of people from the Xuesha sect led by the middle-aged man in the gray robe. By the time Zhou Dongwang stopped, He Jin and Freezing Wind were already behind him. Sect leader. At the same time, accompanied by a respectful greeting, the scholarly Su Mo also arrived. Behind him, Zhou Han and Zhou Feng also appeared. There were also many figures flying over from all directions. Among them were He Mingxi and De Zhuang. Even Lin Lan, Yang Zishi, and Ren Jiape had come. In the past few years, Yang Zishi and Ren Jiape had stayed in the Dongwang sect and trained very hard in order to catch up to Zhou Dongwang. Now, like Lin Lan, they were both primal core adepts and could fly in the air. In just a few breaths' time, a large group of people had gathered behind Zhou Dongwang, and they were all basically the upper echelons of the Dongwang sect. Greetings, sect leader. The group of people bowed respectfully to Zhou Dongwang, who was standing at the very front. At this moment, even on the mountainside of the Dongwang sect not far behind, as long as it was possible to stand, it was also filled with people. These people were all disciples of the Dongwang sect. Is that the mysterious sect leader of our Dongwang sect? The group of Dongwang sect disciples fixed their gazes on Zhou Dongwang's back, their eyes burning with passion. Almost every disciple of the Dongwang sect saw Zhou Dongwang as their idol. Even if they had never seen Zhou Dongwang before, it did not change their respect for him. This was because Zhou Dongwang was too famous on the Ziyun planet. Zhou Dongwang was not only the youngest primal core adept on the Ziyun planet, but he was also recognized as the most powerful person on the Ziyun planet. Zhou Dongwang, Hong Yunfei was also in the crowd, looking at the white figure standing in the air at the very front with a complicated look in his eyes. Although he had seen Zhou Dongwang leave the last time and did not hold it against him, he had guessed that Zhou Dongwang would not find trouble with him. However, it was all just a guess. Later on, he was still a little worried. It was only recently that his worries had gradually subsided. I never thought that there would be someone who would dare to come to our Dongwang sect and challenge our sect leader. Is he questioning our sect leader's strength? Now, not only did many disciples of the Dongwang sect say this, even the Dongwang sect elders standing behind Zhou Dongwang in the air said the same thing. Who is this person? He clearly knows that our sect leader is the most powerful person on the Ziyun planet, but he still dares to come and challenge us. Many people stared curiously at the person in front of them. He was a middle-aged man dressed in a long gray robe, his long gray hair flowing down his back. Behind the middle-aged man was another old man dressed in red, his face glowing, and two other old men who looked very old. It's the Xuesha sect leader, Wang Jin. Beside him are the two golden essence elders of the Xuesha sect, Xue Chan and Meng Yidong. Among the senior members of the Dongwang sect, someone quickly recognized the three people behind the middle-aged man in the gray robe. They were the three most powerful and had the highest status in the Xuesha sect. At the same time, many other Dongwang sect members recognized the people from the Xuesha sect behind them. They were all elders of the Xuesha sect. Furthermore, without exception, they were all primal core adepts. It's actually people from the Xuesha sect. This Xuesha sect has long been at the bottom of the top 5 sects of the Ziyun planet. How dare they challenge our Dongwang sect? Are they joking? Who is that middle-aged man in the gray robe? Even the leader of the Shueisha sect and the 2 golden essence elders of the Shueisha sect are following behind him respectfully. Could it be that this is the source of the Shueisha sect's confidence? After finding out that the group of people behind the middle-aged man in the gray robe were from the Shueisha sect, the elders and disciples of the Dongwang sect immediately became excited. Even more people's gazes fell on the middle-aged man in the gray robe. Some of the older elders of the Dongwang sect were the first to be on guard. The leader of the Shueisha sect and the 2 golden essence elders are definitely not people seeking death. I'm afraid they have come with ill intentions. Who is this middle-aged man in the gray robe? After a while, many of the elders of the Dongwang sect once again looked at the middle-aged man in the gray robe, curious about his identity. Just now, it was this person who had directly challenged the leader of the Dongwang sect. "Zhou Dongwang, we meet again." At the same time, the leader of the Shueisha sect, Wang Jin, who was standing behind the middle-aged man in the gray robe, stared at Zhou Dongwang with hatred in his eyes and said through gritted teeth, "Previously, you killed my senior brother. Today, the Shueisha sect will make you pay with your blood." "Your senior brother?" Zhou Dongwang glanced at him lightly, unable to recall if he had met him before. Perhaps he had met him in Xianyan City during the Feast of Ziyun? "The leader of the Shueisha sect, whom you killed in Xianyan City 5 years ago," Wang Jin said coldly. "Oh, it's him, I remember now." Zhou Dongwang nodded and asked bluntly, "Then you have come today, not just to bring people to challenge me, right?" "Of course," Wang Jin said matter-of-factly. "Today, we have come to destroy the Dongwang sect. Speaking of which, because of you, Zhou Dongwang, the Dongwang sect is very lucky that our last stop is the Dongwang sect. The Qianxiu sect, the Shengguang sect, and the Tianwu sect have all been destroyed by the Shueisha sect. From today onwards, the Shueisha sect will unify the entire Ziyun planet, and we will be the strongest." As he spoke, Wang Jin's eyes lit up. As Wang Jin finished speaking, besides Zhou Dongwang, Freezing Wind, and He Jin, everyone else's expressions changed. The Shueisha sect destroyed the Qianxiu sect, the Shengguang sect, and the Tianwu sect? Is this a joke? Looking at the leader of the Shueisha sect, Wang Jin, he doesn't seem to be joking. Does the Shueisha sect have the ability to do so? Perhaps not in the past, but now, that might not be the case. After all, the group of people from the Shueisha sect seems to be led by this middle-aged man in gray, and this man in gray just threatened to challenge our sect leader. This middle-aged man in gray is definitely not simple. He could very well be a Dharma adept. So what if he is a Dharma adept? 5 years ago, the sect leader killed a Dharma adept. With the sect leader's talent and power of understanding, after 5 years, he must have become even stronger. It is no secret on the planet that the sect leader killed a Dharma adept. The sect leader's martial arts talent is also no secret. If the people from the Shueisha sect dare to come, they must have confidence in this man in gray. Chapter 326. Hearing Shueisha sect leader Wang Jin say that they had already destroyed the Qianxiu sect, the Shengguang sect, and the Tianwu sect, the senior members of the Dongwang sect all had looks of disbelief on their faces. Very quickly, all eyes fell on the middle-aged man leading the group of Shueisha sect members. The middle-aged man had a sturdy figure, and his long gray hair was draped over his shoulders. He stood in the void, and his gray robe fluttered in the wind. He had an otherworldly aura, giving off the feeling that he was an otherworldly master. Just as Shueisha sect leader Wang Jin was enjoying the sight of the Dongwang sect members before him, Zhou Dongwang spoke. "Unify the Ziyun planet? Where does the Shueisha sect get its confidence from?" As soon as Zhou Dongwang said this, most of the people from the Dongwang sect breathed a sigh of relief. They looked at the white figure in front of them with more anticipation. We have to believe in the sect leader. So what if the Shueisha sect destroyed the Qianxiu sect, the Shengguang sect, and the Tianwu sect with the help of others? Our Dongwang sect is not something the Qianxiu sect, the Shenguang sect, and the Tianwu sect can compare to. Exactly. If not for the fact that the sect leader had no intention of dominating the Ziyun planet, our Dongwang sect would have long since destroyed or absorbed the Xuesha sect and the other three sections. Many of the Dongwang sect members present worshipped the Dongwang sect leader blindly. Of course, some of the Dongwang sect members were more rational. The Xuesha sect dared to do this because they have confidence in this person's abilities. What level of practice is this person at? The Xuesha sect actually thinks that they can destroy our Dongwang sect with the help of this person. Can the sect leader be a match for this person? While they were rational, the Dongwang sect members were also filled with anxiety. Zhou Dongwang. The Xuesha sect leader Wang Jin looked at Zhou Dongwang and laughed coldly. Then he looked at the gray-robed man with his back to him and said, "Senior Kuyu, I have just declared war on you, but you have yet to say if you will accept. Don't say anything. If you don't dare, then say it. Of course, even if you don't dare, you are fated to die by Senior Kuyu's hands today." As soon as Wang Jin opened his mouth, he praised the middle-aged man in the gray robe, Kuyu, to the skies. Him. At this moment, Zhou Donghuang's gaze finally landed on Wang Jin, and his lips curled into a cold smile. "Your name is Kuyu? The two golden-crowned eagles of our Dongwang sect were killed by you?" Zhou Donghuang's tone turned cold in that instant, as if winter had arrived. The surrounding air seemed to have dropped several degrees in that instant. "Not bad." Kuyu lifted his head proudly. "Speaking of which, I have to thank the two golden-crowned eagles of your Dongwang sect. It was because they provided me with enough blood essence that I was able to break through to the primordial divinity stage." As Kuyu's words left his mouth, a corporeal silhouette appeared on his body. It was like a mountain that covered the sky the moment it appeared. He could vaguely see that within this illusory figure that was as solid as a mountain, Kuyu stood there. He waved his hand lightly, and the illusory figure that was as solid as a mountain moved in unison with him. As Kuyu's primordial soul power appeared, the elders and disciples of the Dongwang sect who heard his words all turned pale. Primordial soul. He's a primordial soul adept. Primordial soul adepts are even more powerful than Dharma adept. Not only do they have a lifespan of 1,000 years, but their abilities are also not something that Dharma adepts can compare to. In our Ziyun planet, there has never been a primordial soul adept. It is said that with the training environment and resources of the Ziyun planet, it is impossible for us to produce a primordial soul adept. Even producing a Dharma adept is very difficult. Even if the sect leader has already entered the Dharma stage, will he be a match for this primordial soul adept? At this moment, the originally rational members of the Dongwang sect all had looks of despair on their faces. As for those of the Dongwang sect who had originally trusted Zhou Dongwang unconditionally, their hearts began to waver at this moment. Although the Dongwang sect leader, Zhou Dongwang, was known as an exceptional genius of the Ziyun planet, the training environment and resources of the Ziyun planet meant that no matter how exceptional he was, there was still a limit to his growth. In the past, they had heard that their sect leader might have left the Ziyun planet. It was only now that they found out that the sect leader had not left and was still on the Ziyun planet. Since that was the case, with the training environment and resources of the Ziyun planet, even if 5 years had passed, how much could their sect leader's abilities have improved? How can he be a primordial soul adept? The Ziyun planet cannot produce a primordial soul adept. One of the Dongwang sect elders exclaimed. When the Xuesha sect leader, Wang Jin, heard the Dongwang sect elder's exclamation, he could not help but laugh. Of course the Ziyun planet cannot produce a primordial soul adept. Senior Kuyu is not from the Ziyun planet. He is a guest from beyond the heavens, an esteemed guest of the Xuesha sect. This time, after he has helped the Xuesha sect unify the Ziyun planet, he will leave. Although Senior Kuyu's abilities are enough to unify the entire Ziyun planet with his own strength, He does not care about a backward planet like the Ziyun planet. As Wang Jin spoke, the smile on his face became even more radiant. Hearing Wang Jin's words, the majority of the Dongwang sect members had looks of despair. A guest from beyond the heavens. A primordial soul adept. Now, he was going to help the Shueisha sect destroy the Dongwang sect. Where should the Dongwang sect go from here? As long as you were the one who killed him. Just as the Dongwang sect members were panicking, Zhou Dongwang spoke again. His tone was as calm as before, and he did not panic at all because of the appearance of Ku Yu's primordial soul. Don't you find it strange that your divine will can't detect my cultivation base? When Zhou Dongwang spoke again, his lips curled up in a mocking smile. Hearing Zhou Dongwang's words, Ku Yu's eyes narrowed, and he asked in a trembling voice, You detected my divine will? Just now, he had indeed used the divine will unique to primordial soul adepts and above to detect Zhou Dongwang's level of practice. But he realized that he could not detect anything. And for this to happen, there could only be two reasons. The first was that Zhou Dongwang had mastered a secret technique to conceal his level of practice, and his divine will could not detect anything. The second was that Zhou Dongwang's level of practice was above his, and his divine will could not detect Zhou Dongwang's level of practice. Naturally, he thought that Zhou Dongwang was the former. After all, the training environment and resources of the Ziyun planet were not enough to produce adepts above the primordial soul stage. Even mid-Dharma adepts would be hard to come by. To be able to train to the early Dharma stage on the Ziyun planet, one could say that he was extremely talented. But now, Zhou Dongwang had pointed out that he had used his divine will to detect Ku Yu, and in his heart, he had a bad feeling about this. A mere early primordial soul adept dares to be so presumptuous in front of my little brother? What a joke! He Mingxi, who had unknowingly appeared beside He Jin, looked at Ku Yu with disdain and a mocking smile. As for Lin Lan, Yang Zishi, and Ren Jiape, although they knew that Zhou Dongwang's current strength was astonishing and that he did not fear the early primordial soul adept before him, their faces were extremely ugly now. This was because their attention was completely distracted by what Zhou Dongwang had just said. Something had happened to Big Gold and Little Gold? When Ku Yu heard He Mingxi's words, he looked at Zhou Dongwang doubtfully, and his expression changed slightly. Zhou Dongwang had finally made his move. With his left hand holding his sister, Yun Lu, he casually lifted his right hand, and instantly the spirit energy in the air began to stir. Then, a frightening wave of inner yuan surged into the sky like a wave, and it crashed down on Ku Yu's primordial soul. Under the envelopment of Zhou Dongwang's inner yuan, Ku Yu felt as if his chest had been hit by a huge hammer. There was a suffocating feeling, and he could not help but let out a low growl. And at the same time that he felt the immense pressure from the sky, he had a feeling that if he allowed this pressure to fall on him, even if he did not die, he would definitely be severely injured. Break! Ku Yu's face turned red, and a knife appeared in his hand. After his inner yuan was injected into it, it began to expand. At the same time, Ku Yu's primordial soul also formed a knife in his hand. Under Ku Yu's control, the knife slashed towards the translucent inner yuan that was descending from the sky. This was an all-out attack. He did not dare to hold back at all. At this moment, the onlookers all held their breaths as they watched the scene unfold before them, as if afraid to miss a single detail. Bang! A loud bang exploded in the void like a clap of thunder. At the same time, under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Ku Yu's primordial soul was directly crushed by the force of the falling waves. Then, the knife in Ku Yu's hand split open with a crack, and the cracks spread out like a spider web. One had to know that the knife in Ku Yu's hand was no ordinary knife. It was an inferior-grade primordial soul spirit weapon. Wah! Ku Yu's body could not withstand the force of the blow, and he fell to the ground. He opened his mouth, and spat out a mouthful of blood that was mixed with his internal organs. Ku Yu only heaved a sigh of relief when the wave of inner yuan that was descending from the sky dissipated. But he was still panting heavily, and the arrogance in his eyes was no longer there. Instead, it was replaced by fear from the bottom of his heart. Divine transformation adept. How could you be a divine transformation adept? With a wave of his hand, without even using his primordial soul, just his inner yuan had crushed the inferior grade primordial soul spirit weapon in his hand. This was not something a primordial soul adept could do. Even an ultimate primordial soul adept would not be able to do so. As Kuyu screamed in fear, the faces of the Shueisha sect members were filled with fear and despair, and the faces of the Dongwang sect members were filled with joy. Zhou Dongwang reached out and patted the back of the little girl in his arms. He called out gently, "Xiao Lu, wake up." Yun Lu gradually regained consciousness, but when she woke up, she burst into tears. "Big brother, Big Gold and Little Gold are dead. Big Gold and Little Gold are dead. Xiao Lu does not want them to die. Xiao Lu does not want them to die." Xiao Lu. Zhou Dongwang forced a laugh. "We do not want them to die. However, their deaths are already a foregone conclusion.